Welcome to Labor Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Abrantes, Assistant Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Carpenters Union.
And I'm Cyndie Williams, Executive Director of the CCT. Together as your co-hosts, we'll explore the world of organized labor, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories and insights from inspiring union leaders, dedicated partners, and community change makers. In each episode, we dive into authentic conversation to uncover what unions are really about beyond the headlines and the myths.
Whether you're new to the movement or a union ally, our conversation showcasing diverse voices and real-life stories will explore union hurdles, triumphs, labor's rich history, its role in workforce development, all while shedding light on how unions create lasting change and foster economic growth and creating generational wealth.
Join us as we build a broader coalition, elevate future generations, and showcase how unions contribute to creating a positive cultural legacy.
Tune in, get informed, and find out how organized labor is making a difference. Good morning, Cyndie. Good to see you.
Hi, Anthony. How are you?
So today we're joined by Ed DeAngelis, founder of EDA Contractors, which he established in 1999 after 11 years with Bachelor Roofing Corporation. Under Ed's leadership, EDA has become a top provider in the exterior envelope sector, specializing in roofing, masonry, and architectural wall panels, while earning recognition as a top workplace in Philadelphia for 6 consecutive years. Ed is committed to high-quality work, exemplified by EDA Envelope Warranty, 10-year watertight guarantee. He fosters a positive workplace culture, prioritizing personal, professional development, mental health, and emotional intelligence. With a Bachelor of Science in Business Management from St. Joseph's University, Ed has received numerous accolades, including 2024's Business Journal's Most Admired CEO and multiple top leadership awards from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Join us as we explore Ed's journey and insights in the construction industry. Good morning, Ed. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Good morning as well, Ed.
Thank you, Cyndie.
It was my pleasure to meet you this summer and get to see your shop and come to you and gather just to hear more about your company. And I'm really excited to bring you onto the podcast, along with Anthony, to hear more and allow the public and the folks that are on our channels to hear more about your company and the impact that you're making in the industry. So welcome.
Thank you.
If you were to talk to someone who knew nothing about construction and you could tell them only one thing, what would it be?
You know, when I think about the one thing for someone who wanted to know more about construction is, you know, we're an industry that accepts all types. You know, one of the most important things is it's an industry that if you want to be in the field, you want to be in office, you want to be in support staff, it's an excellent opportunity. It's a $2 trillion business. There's plenty of opportunity for you to earn a good living, have a good work environment, and to be able to, you know, do things that I think you'll have fun and enjoy. When you'll be finished with it, you'll be able to see the results of your work. So I would say don't take us for granted. I think there's a lot of opportunity for any individual who wants to come into construction.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things we talked about in earlier shows was white collar versus blue collar. And I think in construction, it's probably one of the few industries where you have we'll say the back office side, the white collar side, working with the front office side, blue collar, and how those two separate sections can intersect and be successful by working together. Where traditionally in white collar America, you're not working with blue collar folks. In construction, we have that.
You know, Anthony, I would say that at EDA, we have multiple people who have either come from the blue collar side who have come into the white collar side, or vice versa, someone who was working in the office who felt like they were a better fit to go outside. So I think that's the beauty of our industry, is we have the ability to meet what the individual wants, and whether that's through being outside in the physical work or inside. And that doesn't matter whether you're a male or female. That's another misconception. We have a tremendous amount of opportunity for all different types. You know, our field work doesn't mean that you have to be out there lifting 1,000 pounds, and in the office doesn't mean you have to have a degree from Harvard. You can be a good worker from the inside. You can be a good worker from the outside. So we're in agreement on that.
So you mentioned misconceptions. So what do you think the biggest misconception is in the construction industry? And I'm sure there's many.
There is many, but you know, one for me that's really important is that we're a closed industry. You know, the union industry wants all to come in. I've heard many, many times there's this misconception that I don't know how to get in to the union field. And for me, that is disappointing and upsetting because that's a misinformation that's being fed from a different type of industry. We're open to all types. I have seen personally in my business, I've been able to bring individuals into the business who wanted to go into the field, who I allow to go bring them to our union partners, and they're more than happy to take any individual to come in. So that misconception that this is a country club, that there's some sort of barrier to this industry is something that I just don't see, and I really like to make sure that misconception gets out into the universe that's not the case.
Yeah, and we definitely have not seen that because we've seen an influx of people trying to get into the trades, whether they had a relative here, they didn't know anything about the industry, they heard it at a school, it was a referral. I mean, the number of people trying to get into the building trades, particularly the carpenters union, is unbelievable. We can't even keep up with the demand to have enough employers or developers actually hire these folks. So I think you're dead on, spot on.
It's great.
Yeah, and we're actually at the point where we're trying to. There's so much influx of people that want to get into the union that we're trying to modify some of our intake processes because there's just a lot of people out there that want to work, that want to make livable wages, sustainable employment, and working for a company like yours is so important. So we really appreciate all that you do to stay relevant with us and keep communication lines open for the union.
No, I think it's a good look. Every business needs people. So anytime I hear a misconception that there's not opportunity, it upsets me because that's not good for my business. My business wants to be able to fulfill any individual's need as long as they have a certain skill set. I mean, obviously there's certain skill sets with our industry, but again, as we spoke earlier, you can have a lot of different skills to work at a company like EDA, whether it's in our support, whether it's in our office, or whether it's in our field. So there's something for anybody when it comes to this type of industry.
Great. So EDA has expanded significantly since its early days as a roofing company. What drove the decision to broaden your services to cover the entire exterior envelope of buildings, and how has that diversification benefited your clients?
You know, we did start in 1999 when I started EDA. We started as a roofing and waterproofing company only. That's what I knew when I came into the business, so that was where we started. But like any business, you want to see, how do I diversify and how do I provide more of an opportunity to feel and feed the owners for what they're looking for. So we're in the water integrity business. So one of the ways our first transition from the roofing and waterproofing was to really go to the exterior wall panel business. We do air and vapor barriers, which are barriers on the outside of the building to make sure water doesn't come in. We were able to transition to that air and vapor barrier business, which then allowed us to see that the things that are put on top of the air and vapor barrier penetrate that air and vapor barrier. And a lot of those, our first part of our growth was metal panels and panels, because what was happening was owners were upset that they were having leaks and issues on their building. And since we weren't installing the panels that were behind or in front of our waterproofing, there was a lot of dispute and a lot of issues. So we felt like, hey, that might be a place for us to go where we could evolve and give our owners and our architects and some of the people that we deal with another opportunity to have more coverage for problems in the future. And over time, that allowed to differentiate us as an exterior envelope contractor. And that's how we transitioned into masonry. And that's how we just transitioned into glazing. And that allows us to have a little more control over some of the design flaws that may happen, or some of the issues, product issues or workmanship issues that may happen on the water integrity. So that warranty and the things that we do from the exterior all came out of owners needing more confidence that through the design and through the work, that there was one person that they could go to if there was any issues. We were able to solve that, what we called the donut hole, by by doing all those things ourselves, and we self-perform all that work. So that diversity really just grew out of what the customer really was looking for, an opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves, and knowing that water integrity is one of the most important things that any building, there's obviously a building needs to be dry, and like I've always said before, we're in the 100% waterproofing business, not the 99%. So, anything we can do to help alleviate any issues, it was just a natural progression of our business over the 25 years. So it's been 25 years of evolving from where we were when we first came in and to where we are now. But it wasn't a far reach. It's connected. Everything we've done has been connected to that initial start of roofing and waterproofing, which is, hey, I just need to keep the water out of my building. Well, how do we do that moving up the ladder?
Sure. And what a comfort it is to the end user knowing that you are the one that's had your hands on all of the exterior of the envelope and being that one-stop shop, if you will.
And it's the one-stop shop, and that allows us to train our entire staff to look out for each other to make sure that we're all speaking the same language. We may be using different trades for different scopes of work, but they're all part of the EDA team. So at the end of the day, we're going to make sure that everybody knows that if there's a problem, speak up, because we're all on the same team. It's another misconception. I work with many unions together. We work fine together. When we're all working on the same project, we have no problems working together. We just have to integrate with each other. We just have to speak the same language. And what we've done is, over those 25 years, is allowed the water integrity to be a big part of what we do. And then obviously it has to look good, and that's important too. But this misconception that we don't work well together, at EDA we work we work really well together.
So you mentioned water integrity, but most recently you acquired Bregenzer Brothers, which means now you have some historical integrity in your portfolio. So what are some of the unique challenges and rewards on working with historical projects, and how do you maintain the craftsmanship that's essential in the field?
So yes, we acquired this 100-year-old company, Bregenzer Brothers, back in 2018. Another connection to the exterior envelope. Their main work was historical work. Princeton University was one of their biggest accounts. Smaller company. What we do at Bregenzer Brothers is more artistic. It's not your Walmart type of construction. It's your very historic. We're trying to restore buildings. We're trying to make sure we maintain the integrity of the building from when it was. We're trying to restore it to a past. Mm-hmm. The only way to really maintain that craftsmanship, which is what makes us different, is to keep the workforce smaller. And the only way to do that is we have to really train them the right way. So we take a lot longer to allow some individual in the field to go out into a project that's historical before they can't go out there until they're trained to a certain level. And even when they're in the field, the individuals that have been with us will only maintain that quality. We have torn up projects that we weren't satisfied with the workmanship before we were finished, and then came back and did it again. And that was instilled by the Mike Bregenzer, who was the owner before me. His father and grandfather instilled that type of mentality. I think when you're talking about historical and restoration work of that magnitude, it has to really be felt by all individuals from the top to the bottom, that they understand that this is something that someone is paying the top dollar for, because it takes the craftsmanship. At the end of the day, we need to really take care of this product. This isn't a just put it up and go. This is making sure that this is supposed to last another 100 years.
Yep.
Not to mention, when you sit in an old church or an old building and you look around, the amount of craftsmanship that you feel, the sense of pride that someone took many years ago to make this ornate, developed building or church. There's such a pride and a passion that you can just feel through the walls. I know for me, that's, being a craftsman is one thing in today's world, but when you're sitting in rich history, taking over buildings that are historical, you just feel that sense of pride that they had, that you want to continue to carry, right?
Yeah, for me, I love older buildings. I'm a grandson of an immigrant. I know that a lot of those buildings were built by a lot of the people who came over here who were just looking for another opportunity in this country, and were able to use the trades as a way for them to to be able to be put in where they didn't have maybe the book smarts, but they had absolute skills with their hands. So for us, it's kind of rewarding for myself from a personal level to see that type of workmanship being replicated, and really appreciate the amount of time and effort it took and patience to put that thing together back, 75 years ago. We didn't even have it anywhere near the tools that we have now. But it takes a lot of time and effort, but it is a big pride. And that team over at Breckinger Brothers really, really is proud of when they're finished. Like I said, I call it artwork, because when they're finished, they take a lot of pride in what they've completed. And I think it shows in the work after you're finished.
Very good. What is the most significant issue facing the construction industry today, and how can we address it?
Look, skilled trade is, it's good to hear that the Carpenters Union is getting, an influx of a lot more people, because we truly need more skilled people in our industry. There was a perception that this was like the last chance university, where this is the only place you go if everything else failed. And it's disrespectful in some ways to the amount of craftsmanship and work that is needed, and what we do, the importance of the work we do. I mean, this country isn't this country without the construction workers. And some of the buildings that we're working on are iconic, they're complicated, they're very difficult. So if you're not thinking, if school isn't for you, if you're not looking for a university and you're going to be in an office, we need bright, hardworking people. I think there's a lot younger generation out there right now that needs to look at our industry as a place where they can really grow. So we really need that skilled talent. What the work that we do is highly skilled. It takes a bright person to do it. You just can't, it's just not a hammer and a nail. We need people who can think. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that. And I think they're just not looking at us. And it's good to hear that you're getting the influx to your trades. We just need more of it, because I think the costs will only go up if we don't get the right skill set. So to maintain efficiency, we really need more skilled trades, and it's really the skilled trades is what I'm really looking at.
Yeah, and you had mentioned bringing in younger folks, and I think part of attracting younger folks is culture, right? And I know as a company, you've received numerous awards for your leadership. Most recently, you were honored with the Most Admired CEO Award by the Philadelphia Business Journal. The company culture of EDA is about embracing an employee-first attitude. Tell us about your leadership style and what sets you apart.
Well, thank you. It's a little embarrassing when I get those awards. I mean, it's really the company. I have to admit that anything that I'm getting is I'm just a vehicle for what we've been able to create over those 25 years. My leadership style is servant leadership. I'm a servant leader. My job is to take care of the people, is to serve them. And all leaders at EDA are there to serve others. And you say, well, I'm a for-profit company that serves its people, because we know that the people are where our success lies. If we're going to be successful, it has to come through the people. I have a saying, humanity as a strategy. Treat your people like humans. Serve them. Think about them. Talk to them. Say hi to them. Be pleasant to them. Create this environment where, as a leader, you serve what they need, and in return, you will have results that are better for you. I am a perfect testament of, over the 25 years, the more I've been able to serve my people, the more successful the company at EDA we become. And it takes effort. And as a leader, you're going to have to think about that. You're going to have to strategize that. You're going to have to train your people. You're going to have to train your leaders on how to be a servant leader. It took me a lot of time through reading and research to be able to understand that I was doing it the wrong way. I was more of a transactional leader. It was, I offer you something from a pay, you do it, we're good. That's not enough. And there's so much more out there. And I think a lot of it, that's why I make it simple, is humanity. Just make it a strategy and you're going to be okay. There's a transactional part to all relationships. But at the end of the day, your success for any person or industry is how you treat the people and how they will treat you. And at the end of the day, my success, I'm only one person. So in 1999, when I started, I was one. So success was me. But now we're 400 people. It's not about me anymore. It's about us. And it is about we. And we have a slogan. It's called Successful Together. And I mean it. We're only going to be successful if we do it together.
I just want to take some time on this question because this really is what drew me to you.
Thank you.
And, your presence on social media is infectious, right? You have a whole, fun way about with your culture for EDA. You have a mascot, a duck, right?
Yep.
You're out there constantly doing volunteer projects with your employees, both the in-house office staff as well as your workforce that are unionized. And, I just love following the way that you're delivering, right? And so that's kind of what gravitated me towards you, just being on your social channels, but you do live it, right? I mean, I think I got an opportunity to meet you, and I really felt it in your office. When I walked around, everyone there just had this way about them where, as you met and said, we're in this together, right? And so it's definitely, it's not just a talk, it's a walk as well. And, I appreciate that. With that said, can you talk about any of the other programs that you have out there? I know you have the EDA Way, you have all these things, right? You have connection to recovery programs. Like, just talk a little bit about how you'd go a little bit deeper.
You have plenty of time here.
I'd like to just.
We have a lot of time
on
because
yeah.
I enjoy speaking about this. But Cyndie, thank you, because one of the things that is important, even as a servant leader, is you want people to come in and you want them to feel what you're trying to have going on. That's both from visitors and employees. So we created a culture team that just talked about things about what we can do to help our people. And one of the things that came out, a couple of the things that came out of it was we have a fund committee that is run by the employees who do nothing but every month create opportunities for us to get together as human beings where we'll do some things fun that aren't run by executive management, they're run by the staff. And then we'll do that once a month to bring people together. You mentioned our charitable contributions and things we do. EDA Cares, we call it. 7 or 8 employees bring in the charity of their choice. That's always usually local. It's something that they're going to spearhead. We're going to fund. And then the best part about that is we open it up to all 400 of our, 300 of our field workers. And you can't imagine the amount of pride and joy to volunteer their time to come with the amazing skills that our tradespeople have to assist the charities that we do. So we're able to not just integrate the charities from a monetary standpoint, we're able to impact the entire company because people want to help. And that comes in all shapes and sizes. I can't tell you the amount of times we've done work on someone's home or building something for a wardrobe or for children, who have different medical issues, where the tradespeople are there on a Saturday on their own time because we have a policy that we don't pay anybody to do this work. We want them to feel the true value of giving. That has really helped us really get closer as a company because that's a common belief that people want to help. I think most people want to help others. In addition to that, we have, and I appreciate you mentioned, we have something called the EDA Pact, Personal Accountability Changes Today. And that is a program to allow individuals who have fallen into either a mental health issue or an addiction issue, where we've created a program where they can feel safe to come tell us that they're struggling. And with the helps of the unions, for example, the Carpenters Union, there's plenty of programs out there. But the hardest part for them is to expose themselves and know that they're not going to be labeled as something less. And if anything, our program, if you self recognize yourself as you're struggling, we will guarantee your job back. So not only do we not have a stigma on you, if anything, we're proud that you're able to tell us. Even if we catch you, if there's some issue where you're not ready for that, we're going to, as long as you go into our program, you're going to definitely be able to be helped and you're going to get your job back. So not only do we not, because we've had this issue, we all have this issue. The construction industry is no different than any industry, but we can't ignore that people have issues that are related to life. The work we do is highly physical. It's very stressful. There's time constraints. There's a lot of things that are going on. There's a lot of injuries maybe that might happen, and then someone unfortunately may fall into something that, an illness. That's what I call it. I don't want to. An addiction is an illness. No one woke up in the morning and said, you know what I want to do? I want to be an addict today, or I want to have some mental health issues. No, they just fall into it. We need to care for those people and see how we can re-engage them into our industry. And that is, and that is another thing where the staff helps each other by allowing that to happen, because they know that we're going to accept that if you're sick, we're going to help you both from a mental health and from an addiction standpoint. We can ignore it and kick the person out and say, you know what, we're just going to go get another person. Or we can say, look, this person's struggling. If they're willing to put the commitment in, we're willing to put the commitment in, because the work they're going to have to do is stay in the program. And that program really was the brainchild of a unionized carpenter who said, he heard me speak and said, are you willing to do that? And I said, I'll do it, but I need someone who really can help make the program happen. I'm just a vehicle to help it, but you need someone who really believes in the program where that person handles it. So with those type of things at EDA, the servant leadership becomes part of our being. It takes a lot of time and effort. You have to have a plan. It has to come from the top. It can't just be a pamphlet. It can't just be a ping pong table. It has to be a true commitment to it. And if you do it, I'm a testament to say, and you can be successful doing it. And you have a much better environment. And Cyndie, what you felt, I appreciate, because that's what it is. You create the function. I have something called feel and function. If you create the functions, meaning you create intentional acts to create this, you're looking to create the feel. So once you do the functions enough, people start to feel it. What you did is you felt just energy of people.
Mm-hmm. Truly, it was a feeling. But I will say that I love ping pong. So
ping pong's
you
great.
got to add the ping pong table in there.
The ping pong table is good, but that's a cheap way.
I have many hours in our garage with my kids playing ping pong. So, I mean, this just leads kind of into this next question.
Sure.
And you've already kind of developed that for us. How are you defining your own success, both personally and professionally?
When I think of success personally and professionally, I don't really think there's anything different. Success for anybody is personal. No one can judge your success from the outside. So my success from a personal standpoint is, am I in good relationships? Do I have good relationship with my friends? Do I have relationship with my family? How do I feel about myself as it relates to relationships? From a business standpoint, it's the same thing. Because if I have good relationships with all the employees, meaning if the employees are having relationships, success happens. What success looks like from a monetary standpoint, how many people you're employed, those are just metrics. They don't really matter. At the end of the day, it's how do you feel each individually about where you are. I feel that we're on a good path. We're nowhere near close to where we want to go. We want to impact a lot more people. So I believe we're on a good journey to have more success. And I think that'll make me happier, which will create a better environment for me, which means when I go home, I'm a better person, I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, I'm a better friend when I'm happier. So when I go home, I'll be successful at home. They all tie in together. There is no on and off switch when it comes to life, work, and who we are. We all have to kind of live in that same environment. So my success, when people will talk about what how I measure it by really individually. I say my success is because I feel good. I feel like we're on the right path, and that's a good feeling.
Good thing. One of the things we always talk about in construction is job site safety, right?
Yes.
But you've personally been an advocate for creating psychologically safe work spaces. You've written numerous articles on the topic on both Forbes and LinkedIn. Can you explain what that means in construction context and how that impacts your employees relative to what we always talk about, which is job site safety?
Sure. Yeah, this is another area that is part of culture. At the construction industry, safety is paramount, but it goes to the same servant leadership. So physical safety, we have an obligation and a requirement to make sure that all our employees go home safe and not injured. Everybody knows that has to happen. It's a good business. You should do it. But but we can do two things. Create psychological safety is another aspect of where at EDA we've tried to create a better environment. A psychological safe place is an environment where, just like I said, as it relates to addiction and things, is you can say, I'm not happy, or I'm not happy with something that's going on, and that your voice can be heard without retribution. And I think that takes some time to build. All of us come from different backgrounds. We're all born differently. We all have different personal exposures. So building trust with someone psychologically takes some time and effort. And you have to judge each person differently. So what we've done is we do an intense training. We train our leaders to understand how to deal with people and create psychological safety. A person is only safe if they say they're safe. I can't tell you either both physically that you're safe or psychologically that you're safe. Only you can tell me that. So we train our leaders through, and really a lot of it is for the leaders being vulnerable. Really just saying, I don't know the answer, or I'm a little bit worried, or maybe you're right. That creates safety when you go, I don't know, I never thought of that, or maybe that could be helpful, or you know what, I want to work with you on that. Psychological safety takes time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that is a easy thing to do. But can you imagine the amount of innovation that comes out of individuals when they feel that they can speak their mind respectfully, they feel like they're cared for, they feel like they're not just a hammer and a nail. We're the hammer, they're the nail. If you create an opportunity where they feel like they have that type of say, the amount of innovation that comes out of those individuals, because that's the healthiest they can be, is when they feel psychologically safe. So if we're servant leaders, how do we create that safety? It takes time, effort. It takes these programs. It takes interactions with each other. It takes, all of our events too are for all of our staff. We don't have the office staff, the field staff. Our year-end celebration for the company is the entire company with their significant other. That's how you create some psychological safety, is by having more touch points as leaders with your people, because then they get to trust you. And I think people generally want to be close with each other, even when we're in a position where you're a subordinate to me. Does not mean that I have to make it be a penal relationship. Let's make it a relationship that's going to benefit me and it's going to benefit you. And I think that's the only way you create psychological safety. And it's definitely possible. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. I have tons of examples of people who you would have thought would never open themselves up, and they have. We're in a male-dominated industry. It's a lot of social pressure to be tough and strong, and psychological safety sometimes goes against that, because they think being aggressive, both from a management side and from a field side. Once we've been able to take some of those barriers down, we've been able to create some of that psychological safety. But that's been a long journey, and it's a journey that we're going to be on for a long time. And I appreciate you bringing it up, because I do think we always talk about physical safety. The best way to be physically safe is to be psychologically safe. If I feel comfortable saying to someone, I don't feel comfortable, you have a better chance of being safe overall, because maybe this isn't the job. Maybe I have you in a reach that's 80 foot up and you're just not comfortable. It's okay. There's other roles. Let's not do that. But you got to feel safe that you can say that, because that's going to matter, because you could hurt somebody else if you don't. Same thing from a management standpoint. If I feel like something's not right, the best way for us to be better is for us to feel comfortable enough to have this conversation. And some of them don't go great. I mean, that's another thing. We got to be comfortable with disagreement and conflict. Conflict is part of life. I mean, have you ever been in a relationship? Yeah, you ever been in a relationship? So conflict is part of life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's how am I in a good relationship? You work through conflicts. You work through you create that psychologically safe place where it feels comfortable. And I know, I think all of us believe that when we are in the best us is when we feel like we can be just comfortable. I know it seems like it's a high bar, but if you don't want to do something great, don't do it. I want to do as many things as we can great.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like you're really challenging the industry, right? By these new ways and methods that you're trying to plug in. I mean, honestly, I kind of joked with you that I feel like you're a bit of a unicorn, when it comes down to some of the programs that you put in place for your employees, both on the job site and in the office. What does that look like on a job site to create? Is it a tool? Does it look like a toolbox talk where you're getting them together, asking pointed questions? Like, how do you drag psychological safety to the job site? Or are you doing it at your offices?
We're doing it both.
You're doing it both. Okay.
So one of the things, the best way to do this, and I appreciate you calling me a unicorn, I think we're limited. I think we've limited I think we have not given the construction industry enough credit and enough opportunity to be different. We're a huge industry. Small businesses are the backbone of this country, and construction is one of the biggest backbones of this country. So why aren't we delving into more things to help both our workforce and our office force? What's the difference between an office here and an office that's in this on site? Sure, we do things with our field that are odd and different. We make them breathe. Before we start a meeting, we do a minute of breathing. That's uncomfortable for someone to close their eyes and be quiet. It's hard and it's weird and it feels different. After they're done for a minute, they go, wow, that feels good. They're going to be better. So on this job site, I bet you if you walk on a job site, I mean, I don't want to bet you, but I feel confident that you'll walk around and you're going to see a different energy with the EDA employees. They're going to like each other. They're going to feel valued. They're going to be having, hopefully, a good time while they're doing the work. Well, why can't they do the work efficiently, happily, with the right quality, safely? Sure, it's intense, but I think what we do is we create that type of environment where we, if there's a problem, we bring a person in, we speak to them. Look, people are let go. So let me be clear. This is about accountability. One of the reasons I wanted to be a union contractor is I want the best. I demand the best. I want you to get paid the best. I want you to have great benefits. I want you to have a pension. I want you to have all the opportunities for you to be able to be the highest paid, the taken care of as a construction worker. But let me be clear. This is the NFL of I want you to bring it. And I'm willing to give you all the tools on the other side so you can be the best you. So if you have an addiction problem, you have a mental issue, you want to enjoy, going to an event, you want to feel connected to the company, we're going to give you tons of opportunities to have that. But at the end of the day, this is about you too. You got to bring it also. And one of the reasons I love being a union contractor is it allows us to say, you get the best benefits, you get the best pay for what you do. You chose to do this. I'm going to try to provide you the best experience because I'm competing also. I want you to only work for us, but you got to also respect yourself. So if you can do that, then we're going to help you get there. But it's not perfect. It's just it's a philosophy that we have. And I hope, and part of the reason I'm even here is I want other businesses, whether they're in construction industry or any industry, I'm a success story. And this is the way we're doing it. And we've only been more successful every year the more we've leaned into this. When I first started, it was, hey, look, I had to survive. I can't tell you that if we had this interview in 1999, I'd be speaking like this. But I'm 25 years in. I'm a lot more educated than I was when I first started. And I hope in 25 years, that might be tough. Might not get another 25 in the industry, but I'm hoping that, to be honest with you, we're building a legacy that there's someone else who's going to continue this at EDA. I mean, we've only just begun, and we're going to keep growing because this works. What I'm speaking about from a servant leadership and all the things I'm referencing, this works. And the construction industry has the ability. There's some great owners out there. There's great unions out there. There's people that don't do it right, and there's people that do it right. Well, I'd like to think that we're doing it right. And if you really want the difference between how we do it and how someone else does it, try us out.
You mentioned, a union workforce, a successful business, and probably one of the biggest things we hear in the industry, and I'm sure you know this very well, is how do we balance rebuilding the middle class, creating good paying jobs with health care, the ability to retire, but also be successful and profitable as an entrepreneur versus the alternative, which is, we're resisting unionized labor, we can't be successful, it costs too much. How can you be successful employing a union workforce?
Look, as I said before, I'm not in the industry. What I reference with my workforce and with the people is we're a value add proposition. If you're looking for a zero sum proposition, I'm not your person. So if you want a workforce that has been trained properly, both from the field, you need them to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe as it relates to both their pension, their health care, that they're being trained for all other things, you're going to get a better product. So I'm a perfect example of, yes, there's people who want to, shop at the cheapest place, and then there's people who want to value add. I know with the type of work that we do, both for universities, institutional work, healthcare, that we're the best proposition because we're going to give you the value add that you want. You're going to pay a little more for the right type of product. That's what we're in. So anyone who says, look, I need the cheapest labor force is really not the type of business that I'm looking to be involved in. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to challenge the workforce to be the best, but they will also deliver the best. They need to be trained. So if your workforce isn't trained, how are you going to get the best out of them? So while someone may say it might be cheaper to get a different workforce, well, that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for value add. I don't go into the store and say, what is the crappiest, cheapest stuff you have? That's what I'm going to buy. No, I go in there and I look for brands and people, or I shop at places that I like, and I like the people, and I also like the brands that I think have delivered over time, and most of the time it's because they've provided a more holistic return. And you can be unionized and still be successful. I'm a perfect example. I chose to be union. I am union. I'm successful. Is it a challenge at times? Absolutely. We need more of it. The middle class in this country needs to have a better opportunity to raise itself up. Our country was built on the working class. So if the working class doesn't have that opportunity to create some safety, and safety is a pension and a health care, and they need a good wage. But they also need employers who are going to care for them and take care of them in a proper way, and who are innovating, who are looking for ways to grow them also. And then to maybe even give them an opportunity to move out of that. Maybe they graduate from the field, or vice versa. Maybe someone in the office isn't meant for the office, but it's time for them to graduate into the field. That's a fallacy. Is it more expensive? Yes. But again, if I'm building a hospital, do I want the crappiest, or do I want what is a value add? That's what I'd like to think about us, is we're a value add, because we aren't the cheapest all the time. We're efficient, we're competitive, and I think we pick trades that are competitive with us, and we have to make sure that we recognize that things are moving forward. So the middle class needs to see that if wages don't go up, and if they're not secured by some sort of collective bargaining, they're going to be trying to fight a battle that they really can't win. And that doesn't mean that there's an entitlement program. So let me be clear. All my tradespeople know at EDA, you're not entitled to anything. What you're entitled to is the wages that we discussed, safe, good environment, but you have to bring your side too. This is a two-way street. We're both trying to win. It's a win-win. We're both supposed to win here. So at the end of the day, it's not you against me. It's not me against you. We truly are in a partnership. So I think that the unionized workforce is the best way to be able to create that psychological safe environment, because we're not fighting on, well, how can I get them cheaper? We're really fighting on, how do I get the best? And we're working to get the best. And you know what? If the middle is great, well, that rises the whole boat. So if we can get the middle to be really good, and then you'll have great ones, and then we'll have people who just, not everybody's perfect. There's going to be issues. So I'm a testament of someone who says you can chew gum and walk at the same time, so you can do both.
Yep.
Well, I certainly appreciate your partnership. I mean, just being a contractor that our unionized employees can count on for those wraparound resources that you provide, it really is creating a wholesome environment for our industry. And, it certainly sets the bar for other contractors to follow your lead. So we really appreciate it from the bottom of our heart.
Yeah, and Cyndie said you're a unicorn. You're probably a unicorn on many different fronts based on what we talked about today. So thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the platform. I think it's an important platform that I'm willing to speak to because honestly, my goal is to have more people want to follow it. If they see that I'm successful, then follow my lead because I'm happy to do it. Now, I'm not saying I don't follow other people's leads. I just don't think the construction industry has been seen for the incredible amount of people that are in it, that are super bright, have tremendous amount of talent, and we just need to expose that more. So your podcast here allows us to expose, hopefully, the great people that are in our industry. So thank you very much for giving me this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.